the at 7:00 p.m. at the Veterans Park. Tuesday, December 4th, at 7 p.m. at the Highland Activity Center. I'm putting a call out to people who'd be interested in working to build a team to move forward the chill at the mill and to discuss the proposal for moving forward on sewers. So I'm looking for people that are actively and seriously want to see something happen with those. So then, Ladies' Night Out downtown Highland, Thursday, December 6th from 5 to 8 p.m. Festival of Trees is December 1st through the 31st. Anybody wants to purchase a tree, they're $85. You get the tree, the lights, the tree will be set up and the lights will be supplied, and then you decorate them and you'll get your name on it, and they'll be on Milford Road. So that's through the DDA, so if you go on their website, you can get the information from there. There's a joint Township Board and Planning Commission workshop November 29th at 7:30 p.m. That joint workshop is going to be to discuss the master plan and moving forward in the future in Highland for that. And then I'd also like to recognize Karen Jensen's receipt of the Association of Public Treasurers of the United States and Canada Certified Public Finance Administrator Accreditation. That's like they add all those letters and have an acronym that makes the world. Round of applause to Karen.
If I could,
Yes.
I just want to point out that took 6 years of hard work for her to get that. And on top of all that, Karen is extremely helpful in the office to all the departments that anybody needs help, Karen's there to help them, and she just helps make things work in our office all together. So we appreciate her very much.
Thank you, I appreciate that too.
One of the glow plugs in the building, so thank you. All right, at this time, yes,
Speak first on public comment, if you don't mind.
sure.
Okay, so a couple of things I just wanted to share with the board. I think that today I was at Milford High School dropping off stuff at the board office, and very proud of the sidewalk that runs now from Milford Road all the way down to the high school, which has been through the sidewalk grant and the program we've been working on. Jen's been a big part of it, and there was 2 kids walking down the sidewalk. So as I was pulling out of the board office, I put my window down and said, "Hey, how do you guys like this sidewalk?" And they go, "This is awesome." So I felt really good, and I said, "Well, I'm just proud to say that I had something that I helped out with part of this program you can take care of." So I was happy. Then I pulled up to the intersection. I noticed they're getting ready. It's getting closer of having a true crosswalk. We're getting there. It's been a long process, but it's going to be nice when that's there. It'll be a lot safer for the kids to actually be able to cross the intersection there. So I'm excited about that. And of course down here at Highland Elementary too, with the sidewalk and everything. The other thing I noticed over by Milford High School, and I'm very proud that we're part of this as the board, is Ben DePonio Sports Complex that he's built over. It's if you get a chance off Lone Tree, go back in there, take a walk inside. I did it a couple weekends ago, and I took my wife by today to show her the outside. But they've got beautiful grass growing. They've got a great place for baseball, and you walk through. There's a basketball court back there. It's beautiful and in its own building. Then behind that, there's a beautiful, I'm assuming, Little League regulation baseball field. It's going to have brick dugouts. It's very impressive. And they're working all the time. They've worked very, very quickly on that and did a nice job. I did see Ben when he was first starting it, so very proud that we had something to do with that. It's going to be an awesome addition to the township. And I wanted to thank Tammy Flowers I worked the election last Tuesday, or a week ago Tuesday, and did a great job. And our precinct number 1, I think we figured out we were 68 people an hour were coming through. We were just slammed, and it worked out well. And all the crap that's going on in Florida and everywhere else, they can't get recounting and all this. And I know we're not the size of those counties, but I tell my students at school, I can't believe, I know how much checks and balances we go through in the township and the county in this area. And the kids that work the election in other townships said the same thing. It's just amazing the crap they're dealing with in other parts of the country. But I know we're not as big, but it's pretty impressive that it's very smooth. And it's always been that way in Highland Township, because when Mary was running it too. It's always been very proud of our election process, and it's so congratulations, and in the past, congratulations. So it's nice to see that it's nice to share with my kids at school that it just boggles my mind. And as my friend from Florida said, we're just a joke. That's what she says, living in Florida. So it's crazy, and they're fine. I think the joke is they cut an alligator open, they found 3 boxes of ballots. So, anyways, that's my comments.
Can I add to that? I congratulate the voters of Highland. We had a 65% turnout, which is unheard of in a midterm election. It was only a little bit less than our 2016 presidential, election. And there was an 80% increase in absentee ballots this year over the 2014 midterm, which is just like, what increases 80%, And we managed in our office to accomplish all that without our election coordinator for the majority of the election season. And that's in large part because of the hard work of the deputy clerk and the other staff in the office that really pulled together and helped us get it done, because there's no way it would have happened without everybody plugging in. So congratulations to the voters. And there was an article in today's final column that expresses more of my feelings on that whole issue, so I hope you'll look that up.
All right,
Thank you.
we took the public comment, now we'll put it in the public. If anybody want to make a public comment? Yes, sir.
Okay, Dennis Raymond, 6039 Fish Lake Road. Before I read some of the research that I did, I just want to say that the end result of this situation came out favorable for Precision Tree Farm. This goes back a little while ago. Okay, I'm here to tell the people of Highland that you, Hamill, and Tammy looked at all the sealed bids, and the bids were changed, okay? And as far as I know, Mr. Hamill never contacted Dawson's Tree Farm about changing the bid. He wanted to pay about $8,000 more of our taxpayers' dollars in order to award the bid to his friends. It was his friends because when he owned his landscaping business, that was one of his buddies. Okay, I know that because of private investigations. So, I'm gonna read a memo right from the township, and where Hamill says that he's gonna eliminate the 2 high bids and the 2 low ones. I recommend that Dawson Tree be awarded a contract in the amount of $28,400. So, this is how this all played out. The 2 lowest bids, the 2 highest. The lowest bid was Precision Tree at $20,002. TC was $28,000, Dawson was $30,000, and Arbor Master was $23,700. Now, in his memo, he says he's gonna eliminate the 2 lowest and the 2 highest. The 2 lowest were Precision and Arbor Master. So then, by that count, the TC Tree should have been awarded the bid of $28,500. Dawson's, which was a sealed bid of $30,000, $115 was changed, and it was awarded based on Hamill's letter for the amount of $28,400. Now, the $28,400 happens to be $250 less than the 3rd lowest bid. So my question is, at the end of the video, okay, you can see how he tried to do everything he could to eliminate giving it to Precision. Precision was in the audience. He stood up and he fought, and he ended up winning because most of the people on the board caught that and ordered it. I called him and talked to him, and he said that if he wasn't in the audience, that he would have lost that bid. So I'm just trying to tell you, quit playing games, because if you do, I'm gonna catch you. And in my case, that sealed bid, by changing it, was illegal. Okay, I already know that the fire department's got stuff going on. I will be checking them. That's all I'm telling you. You wanna play games? Keep playing games.
Thank you for your comments and your incorrect
I got
innuendos
6
and statements.
You know what?
You're done, please sit down.
Yeah, see, you don't wanna say nothing. I'll stick up for these fire guys. I got something going next on that too.
Anyone else?
All right, anybody else?
Yeah, I'm talking on the issue of Peninsula Lake,
Name and address, please.
117 Emily Lane, Robert Rakowski. I live with Victoria Morris. She owns the house. But about the $300 and some added to our taxes, I mean, to me, that is not, I mean, the lake should do its thing, cause it's not a lake. I mean, it's Peninsula Lake, it's called that, but it's not a lake, it's a swamp. And they're trying to not make it a swamp, let it do its natural thing. And to me, it's not part of my taxes, so I will not probably pay that in my next year taxes, because it has nothing to do with my property. I don't know what else to say. I mean, to me, let us make its course. I mean, that lake might die, but then two more pop up somewhere else. I mean, to spray chemicals in it, I just don't think that's right. And then charge me $300-400 a year to do it. So, I will not be paying that assessment on our taxes next year, because it's really nothing to do with our taxes, nothing. Because some lady brought a petition around, and then you guys just picked it up to put it on our taxes. Well, I feel I don't wanna put the chemicals in the lake, so I'm not gonna spray it, or pay to have it sprayed. So, I don't know where that was at, as far as it going, but that's what I am gonna do, because I just don't think it's right to force me to pay that kind of money every year to something that is still gonna be a swamp. It'd be one thing if it was gonna create and make it a lake, but it's not. The lady's worried about trees growing in it. Well, hell, it'll be a long time before a tree grows into that swamp. So, I don't know where you guys are at on it, but just to let you know, I will not pay that fee for that lady to spray for weeds.
All right.
So, because I don't see how the township could force me to pay something that the township really has nothing to do with. It's not in my taxes exactly. Do you have any comment on it?
Well, I'm gonna avoid commenting on it because we're in the middle of a public comment. I'm not gonna answer any questions on this one at this time.
All right. Well, I'm just letting you know, I will not pay it. Because I don't think me and her, she's on a fixed income, that we should have to pay that every year to something that's just naturally gonna happen anyways. It's a swamp. It's not a lake. It should be Peninsula Swamp instead of Peninsula Lake.
All right.
I mean, the township should think about changing that. Because then we wouldn't even get charged lakefront property, because we're not, it's not a lake.
Okay, I will just make one short comment on that. We had a conversation at the public hearing at the last time we did this, brought this up. And there were some recommendations made to you. You should, if you have any questions about that, you can stop in my office and we can reiterate those recommendations. It might help.
Well, but them recommendations are still gonna cost me money to try to get rid of the property that I own. I'm just not gonna pay this fee
Okay, well,
for,
we can't, I can't discuss it anymore on this point, but,
But I agree.
well, it's just not gonna be on, when I pay my taxes, it's just not
okay,
gonna be there.
thank you.
I
Appreciate that.
do agree that it is a swamp, let it be a swamp, let nature take its course. It was 200 for 5 years, now it's 300 for 5 years.
Okay, all right, well, thank you, we've gotta move on to the next, appreciate it. All right, next comment?
Gary Bottom, 4331 West Highland Road. I just have some documentation that I'd like to present to the board. I understand that there was some documentation issued as a explanation or rebuttal to our last meeting that we had, and I just wanted to give this stuff to the board so they could see where I came up with my numbers. Inside each one of these is this is a rebuttal to a rebuttal, I guess you could say. I didn't write this was given to me to present. Apparently I'm the spokesperson for the fire department, I guess. This is 2017. These are all, inside here are calendars. What I've done is I've circled the days where there was only one person on shift, and they're highlighted. I don't know if it'll be I'm sorry, if it'll be that easy, I'm missing 18.
That's okay.
Here. I can get a copy of it. Yes, Sorry, Brian.
This is,
Oh, I got you, okay, I got you.
yeah.
Okay, thank you, I got it now. Thanks.
And really, we want the board to take a look at that. This, like I said, is, if you open up, let me borrow yours, Mary, please. If you open up to, we're just gonna use 2017. This is the page here that I believe Chief Chapman refers to as where he gets his numbers from. And in the column here that says shift duty hours, this is supposed to be the amount of hours that we work on our shift duties for the month. This is where extra hours will get added in for, holiday is double time. People's AOR hours have been added in here. I don't know exactly, because once I went through, I used this firefighter here, for example. She happened to have a lot of hours, so I went through and I added up all her hours. After 3 months, she was at 35.66 hours per week. 6 months, she was at, I can't read it, 31.69 hours. By the end of 9 months, she was at 27 hours per week. Now, that was taken directly off the calendar, and that was using the 24 hours equals 16 hours, 12 hours equals 10 hours, which is policy number 200 in our Lexipol policies for our fire department, which was put in by Chief Chapman. There's also, which is attached to this packet, there's also mentioned in there, along with that, is policy 200, where it says at the bottom that we intend to provide 2 people for coverage when possible. So I didn't find it fair that, and this goes back to the full-time thing, I know it's been taken off the table, I didn't find it fair that he was going to use that as leverage, telling you people that, hey, we don't have 2 people on duty when we're supposed to, when we really don't have to have 2 people. 2 people, I'd love to have 2 people. I'd love to have 2 people 365 days a year, 24/7. Unfortunately, our budget is the problem. So after July, I don't really know exactly what he's presenting, but I know that as of July, up till now, we haven't had a single shift with only 1 person on it. And they've all been covered. We had 6 people come off probation. So covering shifts has not been an issue. Before that, as you can see in there, we had a few days, and we had some shifts that were covered by probationaries that we covered at the last meeting. So I'd like you guys to take a look at it. If you got any questions, you can ask me. I know some of it. Inside here, let me see your screen, Joe, please. Inside here, you can see that some of these, I've written 10s next to where the 12s are. And I've gone through, and this is where I went through and I added up all their hours to get the total shift duty hours. Maybe Chief can explain better how they get the numbers that are on that spreadsheet, but to my knowledge, those are just supposed to be the scheduled shift hours that we work.
All right. Thank you, Gary. Any other public comment?
Sorry, who didn't get an 18?
So, there's only
Well, we can share them.
1, 2, 3,
Yeah, I only
5
had
copies.
4 or 5.
Right.
Sorry.
We'll keep them in-house. We got
Okay.
He's not here, so.
Lynn Hansford, 1528 Middle Road. I want to address some of the questions I had after reading the documents for item 9K for the Airsoft proposal tonight. And I'm going to start with, after going through all the documents, I saw some discrepancy in some of the terms that were used. One of them is park director. I know it says that that's used in our park policy, but we don't have an official park director in this township. So I thought throughout this document, really it was incorrect. It should be struck and it should be replaced with Highland Township Board, because Highland Township Board really is responsible for our community resources, and that's what this is about. So that's the first one. Second one that I wanted to bring up here, item is there was an email between Jennifer and Mary Carlock, and in that email it talks about a final draft. So that indicates to me that there was more communication about this whole proposal with the DNR that's not available in the document for the board or for even the public to know how this started, how it got started, and what was talked about during the entire development of moving forward on this proposal. So that was, I'd like to see all the information on that. It should be available.
You can
in the
submit a
packet
FOIA
now.
through my office.
Okay, but it should be in the documents so everybody knows what's going on. Some of the areas that I want to address, things that I just was not sure about. I'm going to run through this. This is on the 82nd Airsoft LLC document here. Things that weren't available, questions I had. Signage and literature, they were going to show competitive pricing for this project, and there's no proof of competitive pricing in the package. So I don't know what competitive pricing who they're comparing to. In their village, they state that they're gonna put up these 12-foot nettings to be installed. Well, it doesn't say if they're gonna stay up in the park. Are they gonna come down? Are they gonna be stored somewhere? How are they gonna be? Are they gonna be there 24/7 on the weekends? There's nothing talking about how that's gonna be handled. In the wooded area, this one's pretty amazing to me. They're gonna use railroad ties to construct these bunkers. So, I better hurry up, eh? This one's a biggie. Railroad ties are constructed of creosote. It's a carcinogenic. I don't know why we would allow somebody to bring carcinogenics. It's an environmental hazard to build these things in there. One other thing, since my time is up, I didn't see any memo in here that said that the lawyer looked at any of this information and reviewed it. So I'd like to know if the lawyer reviewed any of that, of this.
Thank you. Anybody else? Comment?
James Brennan, 2466 Amelia. I'm addressing several issues here today, and I'm going to try to get them as quickly as possible. On the October 24th special board meeting, the township attorney had again restated that he recommended that the board does not attend the fire department meetings. Now, I have gone through extensive research, including going to the Oakland County Law Library, where any member of Oakland County can actually get membership for free, and researched every township in Oakland County. I searched online and all over to reference any materials that were presented to me as to why the recommendation was made, and I have not found a single shred of evidence to credit the refusal of the board to come to the fire department meeting. In fact, the only references I have found actually support board members going to fire department meetings and or selecting members of the fire department staff to assist the board in verifying that situations are correct in the fire department and going the way that they should be going, as a check and balance system, so that not one single person has the ultimate authority over everybody. Now, the recommendation to avoid contact with any member of the fire department is in the fire department manual, that no member should have contact with the board without prior fire chief approval. So, we're at an impasse. We have a fire department manual that states that no member shall talk to a board member without prior fire chief approval, and then we have the ordinance, which says that the step to resolve issues with the fire chief that can't be resolved is to go to the board. Now, where do we stand on that? My next issue is with Article 5 coming in. On top of it being listed 5 times in the manual, you put in the ordinance that fire department personnel are at-will employees with the new ordinance. Now that's saying, and this is just an assumption, one person could turn around and say, well, I don't like the way you looked at me, you're fired. There's a recourse to that, which is just, in the new ordinance, just the supervisor or just the 3 full-time staff. It completely removes the 4 trustees that turned around and hired the firefighters in the first place. They affirmed them to be sworn into the department, but now they can't be involved in the disciplinary actions of the firefighters after they hired them. So why is our hiring staff not involved in managerial staff? It sounds like it's very quiet in that law firm if managers can't talk to their employees.
Thank you. Comment? All right. End of the public comment, and we'll move on. Okay, first item, pending business. It is 6:59. We're gonna repeat something we did before, and that's a public hearing, Peninsula Lake Special Assessment District to provide for weed control. So I'm opening the public hearing at 6:59. Now, anybody here you wanna make any more comment? I think,
Yeah, what are we doing about it? I mean, what do you guys approve it?
well, that's the next step, so.
Because like I said, I am not gonna pay it, so she's gonna have to add the money to the other people, because I didn't wanna pay it, and I don't see where I should have to be forced to pay it. When it's nothing to do with the board of nothing, the township of nothing. Not a state law, it's not a law, it's just her wanting to take care of it. I don't wanna pay it. I am not gonna pay it. As long as my taxes are paid, that shouldn't matter. As long as I pay my land taxes and my house taxes, that assessment that you guys took over, which I don't know why, I mean, you guys would take on that responsibility, and now I gotta pay the extra money. I'm not gonna pay it. And I don't see where, as an attorney, do I have to pay it? Because I don't wanna pay it. I mean, it's not nothing to do with the township.
I can't give you advice on that, I'm sorry, sir.
No.
I just find, back to what we've gone over and gone over. Swamps and lakes, down
Come and
Middle
go.
Road. When my mother moved into this area, off Lynch, that was a cornfield 80 years ago. You know, this is a natural thing. Let it be. It's, you're not gonna drudge it. We do have to pay lakefront property, should be considered swamp. Down the taxes a little. There's nothing of a lake I can use there. And swamp, yeah. I just gone up another $100 and some bucks for what?
That is another issue. Why is it still called a lake when it's not?
It's just,
It's a swamp. And we pay taxes on a lake that's actually a swamp.
it's a very
Shouldn't the
beautiful
swamp taxes be a little cheaper than the lake taxes?
Don't try
Just
to
making a
swim.
point.
Don't try to swim, you'll sink up to your knees.
Well,
You know, I mean.
I'm sure I know there's times you could walk across it. We have lakes throughout this
Yeah.
community.
But they do what they do, and that's part of nature.
Right.
We shouldn't interfere with that. We shouldn't be spraying the chemicals in it. So I am just not gonna pay. And so I don't see where, you know, anything can be done, because all my other stuff is paid for you guys.
The garbage,
So
fire
my
department,
garbage, the
schools.
fire department, my school taxes, all that, this, I'm not paying.
Well, I'll still make the suggestion that you come into my office and let's see what we can do.
Okay, because me selling it, that's gonna cost me thousands of dollars anyways. I don't wanna spend thousands of dollars to try to sell a piece of property that nobody's gonna want, because it's a swamp, and it's gonna cost them money every year because they're gonna spray.
All right, well, that's what I'm making that offer, come into my office and
All
we'll
right.
see if there's some avenue or path that we can discover that might be a
Well, I'm
remedy.
yeah, regardless what we discover, I'm not paying the money to spray the crap in the lake.
Okay,
Are we done? Or public hearing?
All right, any other comments on that? Thank you for your comments. Close the public hearing at 7:03.
I do have a question. I lost my paper. Could you tell me when the last leaf pickup is?
November 30th.
All right, my notes.
Other announcement, November 30th is the last leaf pickup.
Right. Okay, what did I do? I'm skipping ahead here too fast. All right, the next item is resolution 17-36, approving the assessment roll for the Peninsula Lake Aquatic Management Special Assessment District for the chemical treatment of weeds and related services pursuant to 1954 Public Act 188 as amended.
So I just,
I'm sorry,
Oh, yeah.
on the special assessment, what was the percentage of people that signed the petition?
so we had 14 parcels that wanted the assessment. That equals 33 acres, which was 65% of total acreage.
Out of how many parcels?
24 parcels total, it looks like.
And how many did you get?
14.
It goes by acreage. So there's 51 total acres in 24 parcels. 14 of the parcels comprise 33 of the 51 acres, which is 65%.
I know my cousin passed away, and she's on the other side, so they never got asked.
Okay, so somebody want to make a motion? Got them all scared.
What was the amount? Just curious.
The amount?
That they approved?
Over $1,455, which is $291 per year for a 5-year period,
291.
per parcel.
I thought it was 300 and some now.
Well,
Yeah,
maybe
I got my
the
paper.
resolution.
I still don't wanna spend that kind of money to save a swamp. That's still gonna be a swamp.
The reason I asked was because I've seen several numbers and I was just for, because I put it on the roll. She has to put it on the roll, so.
Oh yeah, let it be, just let it be a,
Yep, it's $291 per year
Okay. Maybe.
for a 5-year period, which is essentially equivalent to $300. I mean, it's equivalent over $9.
It
This
says
is
316.
Yeah, there's a recalculation that was done, so.
Well, now that we ain't gonna be there to pay, they better recalculate again.
All right, so you want to make a motion, please? Well, we got stalemate here. I'm gonna make the motion then to approve the assessment roll for the Peninsula Lake Aquatic Management Special Assessment District for the chemical treatment of weeds and related services pursuant to 1954 Public Act 188 as amended.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. Vote, please.
I vote yes.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, the next item
so what does
is,
that mean?
That means that's added to our shit.
that means you need to come in and talk to me and see how we can help you.
I'm leaving.
But thank you for coming. I do appreciate your comments. Okay, the next item is 8C, personnel policy revisions. So the string of emails between our attorney and Tammy and us has been, we could probably paper the township trying to get all the little details on this, but, and I don't mean that in a negative way, I just mean it's hard to track all this stuff. So is there anybody have any comments that they'd like to make, or
One comment I'd like to make really starts out the first page, and that's, it addresses who this covers, and I don't understand why we are telling the fire department now that the paid on call are covered by this policy. I think it would be a lot cleaner and easier if we just had a separate personnel policy for paid on call firefighters. There's so much in this policy that does not apply to them. So to try to figure out, okay, where does this agree and where doesn't it agree with the fire department one, it seems kind of silly to have this cover them with that exception. It'd be easier just to not cover them at all and have whatever provisions we want for them in a separate policy.
This was something.
I don't think it's ever covered, the fire paid on call. I think that's a change in this.
Well, I think
Are you
that.
wanting me to respond to that? I mean, I'll respond.
Sure.
I mean, I guess I think my role here is to respond to the legal issues that may or may not be questioned, but I will say that the policies contain a number of things that are legally required for employees. Sexual harassment, social media, a number of other items that would apply to all employees. The paid on call are employees of the township and therefore should be covered by the policies that don't conflict with the specific rules of the fire department. If there is an easier way to do it, then that's something that the board can entertain. I thought that this had been pretty thoroughly discussed, and a decision had been made. That's really not a legal issue, that may be more of a logistic issue, but from a legal standpoint, there are policies that need to be applied to all employees, clearly, so.
And I agree, this was thoroughly discussed in multiple closed sessions, so.
And I recall you asking us when we were meeting multiple times and afterwards, you were asking us, is this what you want? Do you want any changes? And please give me feedback, through email or whatever. And we've been working on this for months and,
I mean, I guess to Mary's point, I think that these legally required policies, what you would be really doing is doing a separate personnel policy for the employees of the fire department. I don't know to what extent the Lexapol policies would address general employment things that are required, such as, for example, sex harassment, discrimination, that sort of thing. To me, that seems very cumbersome, to do 3 policies, so.
did we, I know there was a little discussion about the part where it talks about firefighters being covered in this, except to the extent of policies. But then were we gonna add some language to say something like except for the ordinance?
There was one section at the beginning where it says, the second to last paragraph, says that the on-call firefighters are covered by the manual to the extent that it does not conflict with the fire department rules, policies, or regulations. In the event of conflict, the fire department rules and regulations control. You could add to that it applies to the extent that it does not conflict with the rules, policies, regulations, and township ordinances. And it's very clear that that also the ordinances would also, for the firefighters would also take precedence over the general language in the manual, because I think that the ordinance that's being talked about does contain additional provisions that allow what would be referred to generally as due process, notice and hearing and appeal provisions that may not apply to general employees. So you could specifically reference that here too.
Well, I'd like to propose that we add that to the language, so it's really clear.
Anything else anybody wants to comment on? Would this be a case, Laura, where we'd behoove us to move this to the next board meeting?
what you could, or you could simply pass the resolution that you need to adopt this subject to the amendment that has been mentioned.
I think
Okay.
that would be the way to go.
All right, well, let's move this forward then. Lack of discussion, so anybody want to make a motion?
Make a motion to accept the policy as written with proposed amendments.
Support?
Okay, moved and supported. Vote, please.
Mr. Salvia?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
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 Whoops, I jumped there.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Motion carries.
Okay, new business. Gonna open a public hearing on the township budget at 7:14 PM. So anybody wanna make a comment on the budget? Great. Okay, no comments? Then public hearing is closed at 7:14 and a half. Okay, anybody like to make a motion to approve the 2019 township budget?
Move to approve the 2019 township budget as presented.
Support.
Moved and supported. Vote, please.
Mrs. McDonald?
Yes.
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 Motion carries.
Okay, the next item is 9C, Resolution 18-37, 2019 General Appropriations Act. Let me find that there. Nine. Okay, what this does is, it approves the millage that was, passed for the appropriate, operations. So for like the fire fund, there's a 2.3838, mills. The police fund is 3.4319 mills. The library operations, 1.2190, and the library debt fund, 0.3450. So this is a resolution to approve those appropriations.
Just out of curiosity, do we, and I should have asked you this before, do you have the numbers of what they were before? Because this is after we've voted the millages, correct, and approved the
Right.
millages?
Yeah. I think it's in the packet
I see that.
from a previous meeting when
Oh, okay.
we actually end up voting on this several times. But I want to say it was October, possibly September.
Okay.
Are you talking about last year's or you mean?
I meant prior to, yeah,
Oh,
it was what we've
prior
done
to
last
this
year,
year?
before we had the millages that were passed. And if you don't have the.
Oh, the fire was 1.4 or something or other, and then there was millage added, so.
Right,
1.338 prior,
Right.
Okay.
because it was 1.4 originally, then with the Headley rollback, we lost a couple percentage points.
And Lieutenant, that was just a renewal, correct?
Just a renewal.
So that's unchanged. The library operations actually netted a lower, out of pocket on that one, so the millage was less, but it's for operations. And then the debt fund is the same, so.
Thank you.
All right, anybody like to make a motion to
I'll
approve?
move to approve resolution 18-37, the 2019 General Appropriations Act as presented.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported, vote please.
Okay. Mr. Howe?
Yes.
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 Motion carries.
Okay, the next item is Resolution 18-38 to opt out of the provisions of Public Act 152 of 2011, and that's to opt out of the hard cap for health care, the required hard cap. And we've done that every year, so.
I'll move to approve Resolution 18-38 to opt out of the provisions of Public Act 152 of 2011 as presented.
Support.
Moved and supported, vote please.
Mrs. Chenoweth?
Yes.
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 Sorry.
Motion carries.
Okay, this is a public hearing on community development block grant funds. The public hearing is opened at 7:18. Any public comment on community development block grant funds? Yes, ma'am.
Before I get started here, I have some information to pass out to you. Just take one, pass it down, take a look at it at your leisure. Just want to introduce myself. Good evening. My name is Shelby Nardone, and I'm here representing Haven. Are any of you familiar with Haven or what we do? We are Oakland County's only domestic violence shelter. We offer a wide variety of services other than residential shelter to any survivor or victim of domestic violence and sexual assault and their children. We are able to do this at no cost to our clients, to your constituents. 50% of our funding comes from federal grants, and about the other 50% comes from municipalities like yourself and through private donations. We are looking to receive donations for the fiscal year 2018 to 2019. So if you have any questions regarding Haven or any of our services, I'd be happy to answer those for you now. Keep it short and sweet.
Do you have numbers on how many you serve in Highland? How many residents in Highland you serve?
Yes. For the fiscal year 2017 to 2018, we served 38 clients from Highland Township, totaling a cost of just over $13,000. And that includes services like counseling, court advocacy, personal protection orders, forensic exams. That does not include any of the services that we provide in residential. So those are just outside client services.
What was the number again? I'm sorry.
The total number of clients served was
the total cost.
the total cost was 38, just over $13,000.
Okay, thank you.
38 people. Any questions?
No.
You good? Okay.
Good.
Thank you so much.
Well,
Yes.
I think what we're looking at here is, I don't know that CDBG money is one that goes to that. Is that something that we've addressed?
We've done it before.
Is it something can be
It's a
redirected?
public service.
Can we redirect at this point, or do we have to go through a different process?
No, you would have to redirect the senior transportation money,
Okay, so,
because we can only do 30% public service.
right, okay. But there's another avenue, and we do have if you send us a request,
Okay.
then we can look at that request and enter into a contract
That would be great.
with you to
For
be
sure.
able to possibly do something with that, because we have the one line item that we use for donations, so. They're not really donations, we can't call them that, it is a contract, so if you would send that to my office, I think we can actually take what you've got and the information you have, and we'll look at those numbers and see what you do, and we'll get back with you.
Thank you so much. Anything is greatly appreciated. You know, we rely on community support, so thank you so much. I'll get in touch with our development manager and reach out to you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comments? Okay. Public section's closed at 7:22. Next item, we're gonna do it in two resolutions. Resolution 1839A. Let me get to that one. There it is, okay.
Doing separate motions then?
Yeah, we're gonna do separate motions, and this one is, Resolution 1839A is approving the 2019 Community Development Block Grant application, and that would be for the amount of, we got,
13,587.
yeah, the numbers were incorrect in here.
31.
I know.
We have a new one out, so,
We pulled both numbers.
that was 13,000 what?
587.
587, so that's what we'll wanna have in this motion.
Is it possible to, what's the minimum, Jenny, 3,500?
Yep.
Could we do 3,500 to Haven now? And, I mean, I thought the transportation program was funding itself through grants and the ridership, and, I mean, it just reduced the fares. I don't see why we couldn't allocate at least the 3,500 to Haven in this resolution.
Because it's part of the budget that's already been put together and voted on the bus.
Well, how can it be part of the budget when we haven't approved it yet?
We did approve the
That's what we're
budget.
doing right now, right?
No.
Approving the allocation?
We approved the budget.
I'm saying take 3,500 from this 13,000.
That's what I'm saying, we approved the budget, which includes the bus and transportation, which includes that 13,000. I mean, we can
It's a little
look,
premature to put it in there when you didn't have approval from the board for it first.
I don't know what you're,
The board approved the budget.
I know, but the board approved the budget without knowing you were gonna do that.
well, I'd say the answer to my recommendation to that is that we find another source and we can do a budget amendment and make it work in another avenue. Then you're not short sheeting anybody. If you look at our budget, we have, let me give you the number that we can take from, $196,578 under budget. So there is at least $3,500 and possibly more that we could look at allocating to that. It's just a matter of the board making that adjustment for the next year. But we have to have a contract and an offer first, so it's kind of moot until we do that.
Motion subject to a contract.
I'd say I wouldn't push that until we get the proper information and request in, and then we can take it from there.
I don't see that 13,587 in the budget. I see 12,680.
And that was probably the number from last year.
Yeah. And this is a recommendation for this year, so I don't see why we're trying to short the bus program, which we're trying to grow at this point, so.
To move resolution, let me get this right, 18-39A, approving 2019 Community Development Block Grant application for $13,587. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. That's presented.
Second?
Oh, support.
Okay, moved and supported. Vote, please.
I vote yes.
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 Motion carries.
Okay, next item is B. Oakland County, this one is allocating $31,706 towards the Oakland County Home Improvement Program. And there's a lot of documentation attached to this that shows where we're, if you looked at it before these resolutions, where that money gets spent in the home improvement program. So it's also a very valuable operation. So can I get a motion
I'll
to,
move to approve resolution 18-39B, approving the 2019 Community Development Block Grant application for $31,706.
Support.
you moved and supported? Vote, please.
Mr. Salvia?
Yes.
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 Motion carries.
Okay, the next item is, and in this case, there's not a vote on this at this time, I don't believe. Is there? This is an introduction to a proposed ordinance.
Yeah, just the first one.
And so we're introducing proposed ordinance number 460 to amend sections in Article 5 of Chapter 9 of the Code of Ordinance of the Charter Township of Highland to remove, correct, or clarify certain provisions and amend the probationary firefighter and disciplinary procedure provisions. So, I don't believe we're gonna read the whole thing at this point in time. It's just a public introduction.
So we don't vote to introduce this? You're saying?
Yeah, I think you do that, but you don't vote on the actual
Okay.
ordinance.
Right.
I think we do vote to introduce it.
Yeah, I was stating that we're not
Okay. Oh,
voting
right.
to approve it.
Right, okay.
Okay, so I guess I'll make the motion because I'll just read it again to introduce proposed ordinance number 460 to amend sections in Article 5 of Chapter 9 of the Code of Ordinances of the Charter Township of Highland to remove, correct, or clarify certain provisions and amend the probationary firefighter and disciplinary procedure provisions.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. Vote, please.
Mrs. McDonald?
Yes.
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 Motion carries.
Okay, this proposed ordinance is available for public perusal. You can come into the township at any time if you'd like, and we can get you a copy of it. Are we gonna have that on the website? Yes. It'll also be on the website. And I would say definitely read it from one end to the other, guys. I do want to add a little caveat. I appreciate that you guys put together in writing. It makes it a lot easier for us to be able to analyze and compare so that we can make reasonable, good job. That's all I can say. Appreciate it, so. All right, the next one is item H, Resolution 1840 for the 2018 winter tax roll special assessments. This is one that we come up with every year, and it actually surprisingly low amount. The only thing that we're putting on the tax roll for special assessments is for noxious weeds and blight for the amount of $650. So it'll be placed on the winter tax roll of the individuals who we had to go in and mow their properties to recover the cost of the township. You get a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve resolution 18-40, the 2018 winter tax roll special assessments.
Support.
Moved and supported. A vote, please.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
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 Motion carries.
And just so, there's some students here, the couple that we're talking about not wanting to pay their special assessment, what happens is that's something that would be put against their taxes, their payment anyways. In these cases, the reason that we do that is we request people to maintain their properties, and when they don't do it or refuse to do it, then we have an ordinance that says you can only have grass so long, and then we would hire an outside contractor to go mow it. In order for us to recover that from the individuals, they probably, if they weren't gonna mow it, they wouldn't come in and give us a check for it either. So this is how you attach that to their property taxes. And even if they don't pay it for 20 years and the property goes up for sale, 20 years later it gets captured in the sale of that property. So it rides with the title of the property. All right, so we approve that. The next item is I, approve selection of BioCare for annual firefighter physicals. Chief, you have anything you want to say on that?
I'm sorry.
Next, I was talking to, I'm
Physicals.
sorry.
Bio.
Yes,
BioCare.
it's part of my OSHA Part 74 annual physicals. They're in compliance with NFPA 1582. BioCare is a company we've used in the past 3 years, they send a trailer out to our facility and schedule physicals for our employees around their schedule. They're out for 2 days. It's just been a wonderful experience for us, and it keeps us in compliance with my OSHA laws.
Did you say it's a wonderful experience?
Yes. Yes, yes.
Okay, let's practice, guys. Cough, please. All right, so I'll make a motion to approve the selection of BioCare for annual firefighter physicals
Support.
for the amount of $9,500. Okay, support.
Yep.
Vote, please.
Mrs. Chenoweth?
Yes.
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 Motion carries.
Okay, we went out to bid for a remodel of offices at the Activity Center. Blueprints and bid specs were attached. The lowest bid was for $15,773 by Rashid Construction Company of Farmington Hills. Mr. Rashid is known in the community. He's worked out for the township on repair and re-roofing of the train station structure. His work has been of excellent quality, so I get a motion to approve.
I have a question first.
Yes.
I was looking at the, I can't get it up right now.
The blueprint?
Just what, yeah, they're gonna change, I was not able to really
You'd
get
have
it in my
to,
head exactly
yeah,
what's
you'd
going
kind
on.
of have to go inside the thing to,
Okay.
let's see if I can get this to.
No, I'm still not getting, just, briefly.
Okay, so if you'll follow the
okay.
bouncing ball, the way this thing goes right now is there's a wall that goes from there to there. And there's no wall here. So, and there's one door, so that's one room, and what we're doing is turning it into 2 separate offices. There's currently right here on the old wall is plumbing and a sink, which is unnecessary, so that's coming out. So what this does is it makes for, like if they want to do, bring somebody in for medical or blood tests or something where you want to keep things private, you now have 2 offices to do that. And then there's also in the senior, or in the director's office, it's all concrete block and colder than I'll get out in the winter, so they're going to put styrofoam on the block and then drywall it. So there's some insulation value.
So this is basically the office, there's not anything that's gonna be done like in the restroom areas or those things.
The restrooms are right,
Yeah,
there's the women's and there's the men's, but we're not doing anything
okay,
at that point. We're just replacing these 2 walls.
okay. All right, thank you. I
Okay.
just wasn't sure when I was looking
Yep.
at that ahead of time.
Okay, so, need a motion?
I would move to approve or award the bid for the activity center for, I don't have that in front of me, the amount, what was the remodel for,
$15,773.
Rashid.
Okay.
Dollars, okay.
Support?
Moved and supported, vote please.
I vote yes.
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 Motion carries.
Okay, so on this next item, Resolution 18-41 to approve and authorize the signing of a lease agreement to allow Airsoft at Hickory Ridge Pines Park. I think what I'd like to do is I'm going to have a discussion on this so that we can get some things out in the open so we know where we're heading with this. So there's a gentleman who is in the audience right now. Micro-size everything. Who, if some of you are possibly aware that there was this gentleman was looking for a place to do an airsoft field or an airsoft event field, and there was some miscommunication that occurred. He entered into an agreement with a local farmer. There was a little bit of a to-do that went on about that, and it was shut down, and so we were asked if there was any place in the community that could be done according to ordinance. And what it turned out is that there was a discussion between the three in-house officials that we brought up the question. We have this land at Hickory Ridge Pines, and why, if we play games with balls and knock each other around and people play football and so on and so forth, this particular sport shoots a biodegradable BB-sized pellet, has a pretty low range, probably 30 feet or so, 30 to 40 feet. And so the request was, could we do that? Well, the only way that we could even say, can you do it, is we had to ask the DNR first, because the DNR was the one that supplied the grant money for that park. So in order to do that, we had to put, with the request that was put in, we had to put together a full plan of what was expected to happen. The documentation that was supplied gave a description of the operation to the best of our ability, what the lease would be, how all the activities would occur, and just so, Lynn, to alleviate your thought about the railroad ties, that's a term. It's not, they're not using real railroad ties. In fact, I'm not sure you can even buy those anymore. If you can, you definitely don't want to use them, but wouldn't be railroad ties, but they'd be timbers that could be removed at any point in time. So what you have in this image here is several components to it. There's section 1, which is where they talked about having a 12-foot high screen that would go around a certain area, and in this area here would be what's called the village, where they put together some small structures or buildings to simulate a city environment or a small town environment. And then there's activities that are engaged in that to simulate emergencies or different types of services. Could be used for training purposes, for first-person shooter things. There's all kinds of stuff that could be done with this process. So the village would be here. Area 2 is parking and staging, where the clientele would come in and they would park along the yellow line here. This field would have a tent or a structure that at some point that would be where they would check people in and do all the identification and so on. And then this area here, which is heavily wooded and ravined, which by the way is a little over 300 feet from this house to the line here, and this is a swamp, would be where they would do their kind of hidden stuff, where they put a bunker here or a bunker there, and then you would go from bunker to bunker. And so we put this together, and what came back was the DNR said, we can't finish the approval just from their end of it until we get an approval from the township board saying that we would allow this to happen there. So that's where we're at right now with this process. So what I'd like to do is introduce Mike Ersman. He's the gentleman that is looking to do this. If you would like to come up, and if we have any questions, feel free to ask him.
I have a question that not necessarily directed to him, and I've already asked you about this. I think that it's more appropriate for this that first should have gone to either the Planning Commission or to the Parks and Rec Department to be talked about before it's even brought before the board, because and now you're telling me the in-house officials, you have known about this for a while and talked about it, but the trustees, we didn't know about this. And on some of the paperwork here, I mean, this has been going on since August. The lease agreement was in August, and we know nothing about this, and you're bringing it to us now with a resolution.
I'm going to ask you to kind of hold off on that comment, because part of what I'm going to say is that we're probably gonna postpone this.
Okay, well then, and I do have a question for the gentleman too.
So, and I would rather, so this is a good opportunity to bring this out in the open and public comment, and, so you can comment on, ask your questions.
I wanna know the people that are living right there so close, are they aware of this, and have they been included in this?
No, this is all stuff that we need to take care of, and that's why I'm gonna make that recommendation.
And
so.
also the price, where was that decided that the annual, for $1,000 annually to use this land for this, for private reasons?
That was based on the soccer and what
No, I
who's
think
willing
Mike
to pay.
suggested it.
Soccer is not soccer does not make money. This is a private person with a money-making.
They certainly do make money.
Well, I think the
They're
difference
They're a
is
non-profit.
non-profit
They're
compared
excuse
to
me.
profit.
Right, and I
Which is
don't-
two different.
Yeah, there's nothing in any of the DNR rules or regulations that say that it has to be profit or nonprofit. And I think everybody does need to realize nonprofit does not mean they don't make any money. It just means that they're not taxed.
They
They're
make
given
money.
a special dispensation to do so. So, there's a lot of money that gets generated by the soccer club.
But it's not for someone's income. It's for the kids, for sports and stuff. Yes.
Yeah, but this really isn't an income for us. It's something what we like to do. It gives the kids and the people a place to play the sport that they enjoy. And with the fence, it's about 12-foot high, black nylon fence. It doesn't intrude visibility or anything to protect people. BB does go a little far. It's not gonna hit anybody. It's gonna hit the fence. And as far as railroad ties, we thought about using them. We get them free. The rolled, the chemicals and stuff in them are pretty much washed out. They're pretty much just falling apart at that point. But pretty much what we decided to do in that is use sandbags.
So how much digging would be required?
We're pretty much no digging. Pretty much everything in the area 3 is just gonna be sandbags. We like to use the natural terrain. So we're not gonna go in there, cut down trees and all kinds of stuff. Make a few trails that are pretty much already there, just clean them up. Pretty much leave the property just like it is. And use the natural terrain. And then area 1 with the village, just a few things, there's some dead trees we cut out, kind of graded area flat, so the buildings would set level. And it'd be a small village area. And then 2 would be parking, staging area, people would show up, register, do everything they have to do to get ready. Everybody has to wear a mask, no exceptions. That's pretty much it, right? Yes, sir.
So you have an event, let's say, and how many people generally would come to one of these?
On average, we do it pretty much on the weekends and as a special event. On average, it's maybe 50 people a weekend.
So parking is adequate. Parking's not an issue.
No. Parking's plenty.
When you go there on the weekend on soccer Sundays or Saturdays,
Yeah,
there is no parking.
Yeah.
Well, actually, what we're doing there is they're gonna double the parking for the soccer.
Okay.
We're actually gonna take the
number
tree
four.
line and clear that, and then that'll have parking on both sides.
Both
So
sides
that-
of the
yeah.
drive, which is where they park now, is
Right.
both sides.
Yeah.
So, it'll improve it because the other side doesn't have any gravel, so they're kind
Right.
of parking on the grass and the mud. And that's in the area too, that's grass in there. Is there intent to improve that and bring some gravel in, because it's gonna turn
Yes.
a mud hole?
Yeah, we would bring in gravel or, other types of rock or something to put in there. And then certain other parts between 2 and 3 would have some netting as well. We want to make sure that everybody that's playing, in that plane is protected.
Now, is that netting, is that something you think you could put up and take down at the end of the weekend?
No. You think we could? I mean, probably could. Rollers.
If you put some poles
run
up, you could.
Bring it down, roll it down. Yeah, if it came to that, sure, we could do that.
Okay, I think that would be preferable.
The netting goes completely around your playing area then, or is it just in unit?
No, we've been looking at it. It depends on how far our safe zone's gonna be from the fence, that sort of thing.
What does that mean, safe zone? So they play within, so in number one, that whole area is not a play area, some of that is.
Pretty much, majority of it, all the fighting you could say is gonna take place right around where the red one is. I mean, you'll get a few things going on, but pretty much it's gonna be in and around the buildings themselves.
The reason why I'm asking is because if they get up to the netting, they do go more than 12 feet, right, those
Yeah,
pellets.
yeah.
It's possible to lob one over and get it into the soccer field area, and so, you gotta, because they, you can get 100 feet out of those things.
Yeah, at that point there, it's possible they might be able to get one over,
Mhm.
but, by then the velocity is almost, nothing.
Have we included the soccer clubs and the other clubs that are there involved in this
Yeah,
discussion? So,
they have
how
no
do they
problem.
feel? Because I kind of feel like Mom might not like it, bringing Debbie and Johnny there and said all these,
Well,
Angela called from the soccer club today, and she had a few concerns, just like they have a huge Mother Day tournament, and I would talk to him about scheduling that they would not have it that weekend.
yeah, there's certain things that big events are going on, and some we can not schedule an event for that day, or, there's things we can do to work around that.
But they were more for it.
I hate to be ignorant, it's guns like that should be.
Yeah, they're,
Right.
they're.
I wasn't
They
sure
look
what
like
airsoft.
airsoft. They look like regular guns, except for they got a little wrench
Tip on.
them.
Okay.
Yeah, they're round, biodegradable. In about 80 days in the environment, the pH level changes them, and they break down until all to nothing.
Now, one of the other things we need to do anyways, regardless of what happens with this proposal, is that's all evergreen trees in that area, and we need to put in screening as a part of the grant. So that parcel, those people are close to the fence, that'll be all screened along there with evergreens, so they won't have a visual.
You're saying the people to the south?
Yeah,
Of one.
Yeah,
Yeah, right around the blue line.
Yeah.
right here.
okay.
So we'll move trees from in this area here, and we'll transplant them all along this whole entire fence line.
And there's other, if I could mention it, we talked about that we would help take care of the park. We'd maintain the trails, keep them cut. We have to have wood chips down, whatever. We would do that on a regular basis to make sure that the trails and the parks kept clean and neat. We're very neat. Have done this before, and our fields have always been very neat and clean. Everything's taken care of at the end of each day. Salt garbage and stuff isn't left out.
Where have you done this before?
Here in Milford. Yeah,
Where
there's 35 acres that we're using off of Wardlow Road, and we've done it for about a year.
That's the property we're talking about.
That's how.
Yeah, they're not doing it anymore,
No.
but that's where they did it.
Right. Can we use trees to screen the eastern edge of that number one between them and the soccer field as well?
Sure, well, there's already a bunch of trees there
Just
that you
leave 'em
can't
there.
see, and just leave them.
Right.
Yeah, we can
Most
fill,
of that,
infill.
Is already grown up. We do a few things, maybe net here, net there, to would protect anything trying to come through.
Right.
Rick, when you say we are gonna move the trees, you're talking he's gonna move the trees, or?
No, we are, because we're required to by the grant.
So that was gonna happen regardless
Yeah.
of whether they were or not.
We're repositioning them for shading, et cetera, different.
No, for screening
Screening,
the
yeah.
private property from the
Yeah.
park. That particular house is only 67 feet from the fence.
What about noise with all the shooting and the 24-hour scheduling that he's got a couple times a year?
There would be, we plan to do just 2 24-hour events a year, and it would go from like 12 Saturday to like noon Sunday type thing. The guns are very quiet. They're not like a paintball gun. You know, it's the air is kicking them out. Someone might use a grenade for say to make a louder sound, but it's pretty much quiet. Even though you get 30, 40 people running around out there, you're really not going to hear anything.
Otherwise you get shot.
Well, and that's my question. So if the family's out there and they're playing soccer and little Johnny's out running around, how do you keep him from entering into the danger zone?
And two, would be a fence.
But you said you didn't surround the playing area with any kind of barrier, so it's possible to walk into the playing zone without going through your registration.
No.
How do you control that then? If you don't
Well,
have a fence?
there'll be just like a about a car width wide for people to come in. And people would check when they register, everyone's tagged.
Right, but if I came walking through here, right? I walked around through here and I walked through here, there's no fence, I walked through there.
No, there
How
will be a
would you
fence.
stop me? There is a fence around here?
Yes.
There will be.
Oh, okay, that's what I
Around.
was asking before.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's that 12-foot high fence.
Okay, so you are gonna surround the entire playing area?
Pretty much, yeah.
Pretty much, or
Yeah,
all
if we-
of it?
Yeah, once we figure out exactly how much field we're actually using, then we will enclose it.
So what we're gonna do here is, we're getting some stuff out in the open, and we'll go back and we'll look at the process and get answers to all these things before we bring
I'm
it
not saying
back
it
up
can't
to
be done,
table.
it's just that we gotta do it right?
Yeah.
That's the point, we don't want Johnny to get hurt, right? And then
Right.
the township's
Safety's
gonna
our
get,
biggest
because he's gonna
concern.
get a liability signature from his
Yeah,
players.
you
but
could get a broken nose from a soccer ball standing on the side of
you
the
can-
soccer
But you
thing.
can also get your eye poked out on one of these things.
Yeah.
See James' question.
James?
My question is, has to go through a DNR approval as well as a board approval before it gets enacted. Who holds the liability on the property?
We have insurance to cover just about anything that you do on that property, so.
But
But
we
they
would,
would- they would
we
provide.
still
They would
carry a $1
provide
million
insurance.
liability policy.
What?
We carry a $1 million liability policy.
Okay, and that covers both players as well as
Yes.
the ancillary persons?
Yep.
Has our insurance company been contacted about this?
Not at this point.
What,
They
your
should
the 24-hour games, assuming they're gonna do this at night, how are they, do you have lit areas? Is it gonna be
We would
lighting,
have
is there
a
gonna be
couple
flashlights, or?
lit areas. Some of the guys, they have their tactical flashlights, and that's pretty much the draw of a night game is very limited visibility and having to achieve your objective at night.
Rick, does the lease give the Airsoft company exclusive rights to those property for that 24 months? So is there a way to control somebody from coming in when they're not operating to play off Airsoft, or, I mean, because you're gonna have people.
If they're not operating, then the land's open for use.
And somebody could show up
Yeah.
and play Airsoft and use your facilities.
Which is the interesting part, is that why are, it'd be kind of nice to have a place where people know that they could go and play airsoft besides just their backyard, I think. I mean, I look at it as, we've got people that play football and get their brains scrambled, and I got a permanent injury from football in high school, and we got a game here that, yeah, you get your eye poked out, but if you're wearing the gear that you're supposed to, it's a moot point. You're not gonna get hurt because of something that comes out of the end of that gun. It'd be whatever you do on your own. Smack into a tree in the dark, I mean, that's, so.
Well, not the players, you're right.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah, and I'm not worried.
and the other way I kind of look at this myself, and the reason I agreed to, let's see how we can help this gentleman, to see if we can do something for the community of people that play this game, which is pretty broad. It's a lot bigger than most people think. there's a lot of people that do this same kind of thing in front of a TV. They're not shooting pellets, but they're playing the same kind of game. And this gets people outdoors, and it gets people interacting with each other. It builds camaraderie that you're not going to get by sitting there doing it on an iPad or on a big screen TV in your house. I think it's a health issue. It gets people active and involved. I think that's what that park is for, recreation, and it should be. It's I think a reasonably good application. And I'd hate to, just because we have some false senses about, oh, they're guns and they're this. I wish I would have had those things when I was growing up, so that when I shot somebody, I didn't have to say, you're dead, and then they say, no, I'm not. I mean, that's essentially what it is. It's a game that has grown up from when a lot of guys were kids, and there's women that play it too. So.
80s, with paintball, I know the owners of Hell Survivors out in Pinckney, they've been doing it for over 30 years.
Another question. It says in exchange for Airsoft, LLC will pay $1,000 ceiling for the use of the property, or will maintain the property. What's or mean? Does that mean we will and maintain the property?
Yes.
Okay, so that word needs to be changed then. Is that correct?
Well, the intent was if they did several $1,000s worth of work on the property, that would qualify for the $1,000. So could be in kind. If you want to change it, we can change it.
No, well, I just want to make sure. I mean, it looks like they're going to pay us $1,000. I'm looking at maintain the property. That means when there's trash to be removed, who's going to do all that.
Right, and they should do that anyway.
Well, that stuff they would do, but extra stuff, like for the paths outside of their area, for people to walk on.
Okay, you're just talking about the physical property,
yes,
not the maintenance of the property.
Yes, maintenance to help us keep it maintained.
Okay.
For public.
I think it's a great idea, because when I was a kid, we shot BB guns at each other, so which was not very smart. Put a couple jackets on and see if it hurt. It still hurt. But, pump those pellet guns, and it's a lot safer.
We threw darts at each other.
Yeah.
So.
We're all still here.
Oh, when I was a kid, we had dirt fights across the excavation of a home. Dirt.
They had dirt back then?
Well, in any event, I think that we do have some a little bit more due diligence to do, and the essence of this is that before we could go anywhere, we had to put something to the DNR because that was their request. And they went through the lease agreement, they went through everything we presented to them. And they said, okay, it appears that the next step is we need approval from your board to move forward to give a final assessment on it. So we don't have to do that tonight, and what we can do, because Mike can't do anything and not gonna do anything in the winter time. And if we can come up with, fill in any blanks, and then what we'll do is we'll set up, for the next thing, we'll set up a public meeting to bring any public in who wants to comment on it, and take it from there.
So the public hearing, and then that would be including the neighbors and everyone around?
Yes.
They would get a...
And we'll contact all the neighbors and let them know. And the intent wasn't to try to bamboozle anybody, it was so that we could carry forward, so they could at least say, hey, yeah, it looks like we can probably do this, and then we'd have to probably do all the final stuff would be through the board anyway, so.
Vince is my business partner. Is that okay with you?
Right, then what we'll do is we'll sit down with you and Jenny and I and add any of this information that came up. Lynn, if you've got, you want to just pass your comments off to Jenny.
Yeah, I had some further.
And anything else you want to pass off to her. Anybody else here, same thing, send it into our office, and then we can address it and craft a more zeroed in process.
I just want to say, it's a fun sport. It's very safe as long as everybody follows directions, and we're very strict on that, making sure everybody has their mask on and keep it on. There's referees on the field at all times to keep an eye on the younger kids to make sure the masks are on and following direction.
Can I ask you a question
Yes.
about that as far as equipment? Would people that come have to have their own equipment, or would you
No.
rent that equipment
We
to
have
them?
equipment that they can rent. So somebody can come, we had groups that came all the time, and they would just rent the equipment.
Any rowdy people, you get rid of them?
Yes, we're very strict about noisy, rowdy people getting on hand. No drinking whatsoever is allowed at the field at all. That was something that was brought up before that they were complaining about, which never happened.
What's the age range?
We do some things with the younger kids, about 10 years old, up to like 13, 14, we'll do some stuff with them, gun safety, run some drills and stuff with them, and the older kids.
Is it restricted to just youth?
No.
So you'll have times for youth and times for 18-year-olds?
Yes. I mean, I'm 55 and I'm still running around out there.
75 and older, that's crawl around.
No.
These gentlemen had a tent a couple different times at our fall events, and it was amazing at how many people attended. Went to the tents, and it was. They had a lot of fun. I mean, it's one of those things where it's different. I know that there's some people that it puts you on a little bit of edge. It's a gun, but.
That's natural.
I don't know what to say. I've played paintball, and I can tell you that one I'm not. I have equipment, I can't get anybody to play it with me because it hurts. This is one
Paintball
that.
is dirty.
And it's dirty, it leaves residue all over the place.
Nice thing about Airsoft is it is clean, very environmentally friendly. And we make sure that, all the BBs are biodegradable. There's some out there, cheaper ones that are plastic, but most people don't use them.
All right, on that note, I thank you for coming tonight, and I appreciate your, perseverance in this, because it started off on the wrong foot by lack of knowledge of what was the right thing to do. And I think we have a good plan. Now we just have to add some elements to it and let the board make a decision on what direction to head, and have a public comment so we can address this.
Sure.
All right, so thank you. So we're going to, what's the correct term? Postpone?
How about we just take no action at this time? And then we can put it on the future agenda.
Yeah, we'll take no action on this. We intend to, it'll probably be public hearing for the next meeting, though. So we'll get it out, we'll get it put forward for that. All right.
Budget amendment?
Budget amendment. Motion to approve?
So the reason for this budget amendment is when we originally budgeted for all of the projects at the parks, and we had put all the money to come out of capital improvements, but as things happened, they ended up being spent out of general fund just because it's made more logical sense that way. So instead of spending them out of capital improvements, we're gonna spend some of the smaller projects out of general funds. We're just amending the budget to match what we've been doing.
Is this, maybe this doesn't even have anything to do with, but some of them, like the Parks and Rec Committee, do they still have that money that'll be going left over at the end of the year into a savings account for that for future projects?
We don't do it that way, because actually we can't do it that way. And that's why there's a capital improvement fund, which has.
Capital improvement fund is like a savings account.
So, but it can't be
It's
designated
protected.
line item to different committees, like the Park and Rec Committee, that people had talked about having
It's
that?
for parks.
Well, we budgeted
Oh.
money out of that account. And I mean, anytime the board wants to spend money out of capital improvements for whatever purpose they deem so fit, they can do that. It doesn't have to be appropriated ahead of times.
But in this case, it is capital improvement for parks, so it's designated.
Okay.
You know,
It's
we
designated.
won't take that money and go do something else with it, it's for parks. So it's protected, and that was the reason for doing it that way. So it's essentially the same thing, except what you're doing is you're not building up a fund, you know, where you try and collect a couple $100,000. We can always go in to the general or to capital improvements and reallocate to the park if you wanted to do a bigger project. So there's plenty of ways to do that, but the way that we were talking about doing it, it would expire every year. So you can't do it that way. All right, so, motion to approve?
I would move to approve the budget amendment as presented.
Support?
Moved and supported, vote please.
Mr. Salvia?
Yes.
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 Motion carries.
On that note, meeting's adjourned.